Aviation writer and plane and pilot consultant Tim Kern sat down with aviation legend Pete Law. They talked about everything from Pete's time at the Lockheed Skunk Works to what he does here with the airplanes at Reno for ADI and carburation.
Any advice you can give to somebody that wants to get into air racing in general or would like to get onto a team, one of the top teams?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's very hard too because everybody that's in air racing now has so many friends that know airplanes that it's very hard to get in as a new person. The best thing you can do to get into air racing, if you are interested in getting into air racing, is unfortunately have a lot of money and a lot of desire to experiment and to face failure and risk and to be able to handle it. The guys who are going to have the best chance are the guys who are in the smaller racing classes, and eventually if they can go up into the sport and if they ever want to get up into the unlimited and they're able to convince somebody to let them fly their airplane. Skip Holm was a F-117 U-2 test pilot at Lockheed, and when Mac McLean, who flew Genie to a win at Reno, when he decided that he couldn't race anymore, Dave Zuschel had to go to Darrell Greenemeier and ask him if he knew any people that he could talk to at Lockheed to get a good test pilot to fly his P-51. Well, Skip Holm was a good pilot, very good pilot, never flown a tail dragger, and it was fun watching him do takeoffs and landings in a P-51 with a tail dragger. He ended up getting very good at it, and he ended up winning the next year also in the airplane. Then eventually became one of the premier pilots here, winning several times in Dago Red, and a lot of the airplanes he flew weren't competitive racers, but he had fun in them. And he flew Mr. Awesome the first year, but it didn't have a big enough tail, and so he didn't do very well with it. But then it ended up in Darrell Greenemeier's hands, and he let Neil Anderson fly it, and it had a problem and crash landed, and it's being rebuilt by somebody in Texas who I guess hasn't ever really got it flying. So, but the opportunities are there. It's just you're going to have to find the right engineers that are willing to take the time and the risk to go out and develop something new and different, because airplanes are not like cars, they're not like boats. They go up in the air and can have problems that would damage people.
and every airplane is a one-off.
Yes.
There are no two airplanes alike anywhere here, even in the T6 class, where they try as hard as they can to make them identical. There are no two that are all alike. If you want to get started in air racing and you don't want to be a pilot and you don't want to be a team owner, I've seen a lot of folks show up, offer a helping hand, be useful, keep their mouth shut, do the stuff that needs to get done, and the next year they get invited back, and in a few years they even get paying jobs sometimes. Yes. And you can then develop your way through, and if you basically keep your mouth shut, learn things, learn the good stuff, eventually you're going to know some good stuff, then somebody's going to really want you, and you can make a career out of this.
The best way to get involved in airplanes is not at Reno. It's at other airports where there are airplanes that people are working on, and then you volunteer, and if they find you're useful, just like you said, then you'll get invited to Reno. The pit passes at Reno are so expensive now, and it's so hard to get in and out of this place that it's becoming completely in the hands of the veterans to come in, because nobody's going to put in 2 or 3 young guys because they can't afford it.
No, this is not a place to learn. You don't go learn how to drive at the Indy 500 either. It's the same kind of thing, and possibly even a higher level.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Pete Law, I want to thank you very much. Is there anything that we should have talked about that we didn't talk about, or
How'd you
not?
get the name Secret Pete?
Oh, that was very interesting. I worked in the Lockheed Skunk Works back starting in 1961. And when I got involved with Darrell Greenemeier to race airplanes, neither Darrell nor I could talk about what we did at our place of business. So Dave Zuschel came up with the name for me because I was doing all of his engine engineering and the cooling on the airplanes that Dave was involved with after Darrell and with Darrell. And so Dave Zuschel came up with the name Secret Pete for me because they knew I worked in secret things, and so they called me Secret Pete. And some of the people still call me Secret Pete. Most of the people have dropped the secret and they just call me Pete. But it was really, really I wouldn't say embarrassing, but I had to tell them, be careful what you're saying around here, because you guys aren't supposed to know that I'm working on secret projects, because I'm not supposed to tell you that I am. So you got to be careful. Just because I work at the Skunk Works and we work on a lot of stuff that's classified, we're going to call you Secret Pete. And so that's where the name came from Dave Zuschel at working on Merlin engines and things with him.
Well, I trust we didn't get any secrets today, but I sure appreciate the knowledge and the background, and the encouragement that it gives the rest of us. Pete Law, thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure, and thank you both. I'm just happy to be interviewed and get some of this engineering out into the world where engineers might get interested in coming in and helping.